Clearly, there were intelligence failures. Clearly, the security should have operated better than it did. But this was a mob Donald Trump sent to the Capitol, and I think that's important to keep our eye on.
Liz Cheney dropping some truth bombs on Fox News.
We won't get fooled again.
Right?
See, that's what.
All right. You know what? Everybody gets like a gimme this morning because we've been up all night listening to Adam Schiff drop F-bombs. Oh, and he did do a physical Josh Hawley impression, which was very funny.
Yep.
It was very Traits of Fire with the fist in the air at the end. It's like he did two things at once.
And the props. Okay. Wow. Speaking of giving props, you know I'm all backed up on this Monday.
Oh, I know.
You know why?
Because
if
you
you
didn't
don't
have
get
him
me
on
Glenn Kirschner on Friday because he's covering the Bannon trial, you know what happens by Monday. Hi, Glenn Kirschner. Good morning.
Good morning, staff.
Happy Bannon indictment.
Yeah.
For those who celebrate.
Bannon Conviction Day.
I got him conviction. Right. Sorry. Yeah. Convicted on both counts. Tell us what was that was like being in the courtroom. I loved what you said. Prosecutor in rebuttal. Bannon's conduct is like a child who keeps arguing with a parent after being grounded. That's what it seemed like.
I watched it from start to finish. And first and foremost, we heap lots of criticism on the Department of Justice for not acting swiftly enough. But let me tell you, the two prosecutors in the case, Molly Gaston and Amanda Vaughn, those women are rock stars, and they represented the American people extraordinarily well in this prosecution. I got to chat with them for a while afterwards because they come from my former office, the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, and I congratulated them and I thanked them on behalf of we the people. So we shouldn't lose sight of when the Department of Justice does something really well, we need to let them know. But, Bannon promised to go medieval during the trial. And Steph, I was in there for every minute of the trial. No catapults, no crossbows, no molten lead being poured over the castle turrets.
Nothing medieval?
He sat there, if there was anything medieval, he sat there like a big old medieval bump on a log the whole time and didn't say one word in his own defense, didn't present any evidence. And the jury, after sitting in the trial for a week, they went back to deliberate. They came back with, it wasn't just a verdict, it was a statement, less than 3 hours, and they even worked in a lunch. Guilty, guilty, go away, Steve Bannon. So now he will be heading to prison, but not until October 21st.
Yeah. Well, Glenn, we've talked about this before, boy, they sure do talk big. They sure talk some trash, whether it's Giuliani, all these people on the courtroom steps, on podcasts, but then they get into a court of law, right, under oath.
The way to shut up Steve Bannon is to tell him if you want to talk, you're going to be placed under oath and you're going to have to tell the truth. He wouldn't do that to Congress. He wouldn't do that at his own trial. He is a coward at the end of the day. Much of what he does is performance art. He can only fool the gullible, and it's all about getting them to send him money.
Yeah. And speaking of cowards, Josh Hawley, you retweeted, here's the entire hearing room erupting into laughter when the footage of Josh Hawley running out of the Capitol is shown. And you made a great point, Glenn. You said momentarily funny for sure. But when you consider that Hall and Hawley urged on the insurrectionists with his upraised fist from the safe haven of his security detail, he endangered the lives of police officers who were under siege and outnumbered. Accountability now. I mean, not to mention was the senator that voted to decertify. Mm-hmm. So he is, what's the word, implicated in more ways than, the fist is just what we remember. But, he is right in the thick of this, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's under criminal investigation by the Department of Justice, if I had to guess. And, let's not forget that upraised fist inspired the crowd to assault our police officers. There is no two ways about it. So, he needs to be held accountable. And yes, it's momentarily funny to watch him running away from the very people he incited and inspired and encouraged. Yeah. But let's hope that the Department of Justice digs into his possible culpability for all of this. And if there's enough evidence, they need to indict him.
Yeah. Glenn, you just tweeted when the J6 committee revelations about Donald Trump's crimes, it's time for the DOJ to indict Trump and his co-conspirators. I was saying at the top of the show, being out with Chairman Schiff last night, we were saying that I understand he, Liz Cheney, Elaine Luria, others putting public pressure on DOJ. I think that's fine. And I know you're of the impatient crew like I am, but I'm just curious, because other people point to, the whether it's the Eastman, the Clark raids, as you just said, the Bannon indictment, to say that the Justice Department is working. Where do you come down on this in terms of, are you saying when you say now, you really feel like Trump should be being indicted now?
Yeah, I think a Trump indictment is long overdue. I try to exercise patience because I appreciate you need to build the strongest case possible against a former president and his co-conspirators. But, I just did a piece for MSNBC Daily, and I said, look, at some point, it's great that you're involved in covert investigations, grand jury investigations, which are secret by law. You're doing things behind closed doors. But Steph, there comes a time when we have to see overt public law enforcement action, like when we have witness tampering. Those people need to be arrested promptly and publicly, one, to neutralize that threat, and two, to send the message of deterrence to others. The problem is no one on Team Trump is being deterred. Why? Because there's no overt public law enforcement action. That I fault the Department of Justice for. They need to start doing that now. I don't care if we don't see a Trump conspiracy indictment tomorrow. We need to see some of these people who are tampering with witnesses and destroying evidence. We need to see them arrested now, and then you build on that.
Yeah. Except, Trump is one of the ones tampering, right? He's the one personally calling. It's extraordinary. Anyway, you said, let's call Trump's 1-6 mid-riot tweet saying Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country what it is. It's a murderous tweet. And I know Barb McQuaid was also saying she was looking for manslaughter in terms of, the last hearing. Your piece was Trump's criminal intent is now clear. Merrick Garland's intentions aren't. DOJ leaders are asking the American people to trust them, but following the House's final, at least for a while, hearing, you said that trust is eroding. I think that's what it is. It's just because we can't see what's under the surface, right? We don't know what's happening.